And now, the Rock Newman Show.
Who just said that? Who was that man that just said that? Whose voice was that? And now, the Rock Newman Show. It sounded like a gentleman that back Tuesday a week ago made an announcement that he wanted to become the mayor of Washington, D.C. And the guy, that's funny looking, funny sounding guy, introduced him, named Rock Newman, who was the chairperson of his campaign. And here we are today. Andy Shallal is here. He's sitting in the seat that Vince Gray sat in not so long ago, that Muriel Bowser sat in not so long ago, that Tommy Wells sat in, that Jack Evans sat in, and anybody else who wants to run for mayor will have an opportunity to sit in the same chair and get the same kind of fair discussion that they all have received before, and hopefully Andy will feel that he receives today. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show, Andy Shallal. You know, man, this is a really cool place. I always say I'm real happy to be broadcasting from the Langston Hughes room at Busboys and Poets. The guy that put this all together is really a pretty cool dude.
I agree.
How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, campaign is how many days old? 10, 11 days? 10 days. 10 days old. How does it feel to be a candidate? First, let me ask you that question first.
Well, I have to tell you, I love campaigning. I didn't know that I would love campaigning, frankly.
It is said that when you run for an office like this, you really start to learn, not only do you learn about the municipality and the people in it, you learn a lot about yourself.
You learn a lot about, but also you really learn a lot about the people. I mean, you know, we always think that people are adversarial and they really don't care about things and all that, but it's amazing how many people you run into that want the same things that you want. You know, things like safe streets and good schools and jobs and all the things, and they're willing to talk to you from their heart. It's really beautiful. It really, I have to say, it's re-energized me in the belief that all people are good people.
Andy, because I know you and because we've discussed your running, I obviously know some of the reasons that you're doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But let's go sort of back to basics for a second, that an observation is just a realistic observation would be made. Mm-hmm. Andy Shallal has created a bit of a mini empire here. People love this dude. Not only do they love this dude, they love the place that he has created, the environment that he's fostered where everybody comes and feels comfortable. This is a really cool and funky place, man. And my wife, she always tells the story that the first time she ever walked into a Busboys and Poets was this one right here, before we knew anything about who you were. And sitting at the bar was this elderly white lady with a bit of a French-sounding accent with a little tam. Well, she had a little blue tam on her head. And she was talking to this brother, this dreadlocked hip-hop brother, and they were just having the best of times. And to her, that represented something very special about this establishment. Once I understood who you were and what your goals were for this, I often think back to that moment, that was what you were trying to create. Mm-hmm. So you got this mini empire, you've created this great place where everybody feels comfortable, you've got a wonderful wife and family and a beautiful career. Why in the hell you want to get into politics?
That's a really good question, but I have to say that it's because of those things is the reason why I want to get into politics. I think the city can do so much better. It could do so much better. I think we've been shortchanged. We look at ourselves as this little provincial town, but we're not. We're a global town. This is a city, like, you're from Vegas, right?
I've lived in Vegas for a while.
You lived in Vegas for a while there. Now, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
What happens in D.C. does not stay in D.C.
Right.
That's for sure.
That would be true.
It has a ripple effect, not only across the country, but across the world. Mm-hmm. And I think we've shortchanged ourselves to see ourselves not this global city that can be a city for the world, but really this small provincial little town with our little small provincial bickerings and things that are happening. I think we could do so much better.
You know what? Those in power now and the supporters of those in power and in the past would say, well, you know, man, back in Tony Williams' time, some things started to happen in D.C. and the area started to turn around, and then Fenty, you know, sort of continued that progress. And you know, the mayor was here a few weeks ago, and he talks about, you know, sort of the incredible business boom. And you come and say, well, the city can be better. You got all these cranes that are going up. You got these buildings that are going up. It looks like Washington D.C. is boom town. What do you mean it can be better?
Well, I mean, we're counting cranes all the time, but we're really not counting things that really matter, and that's the people that are affected by those cranes. Now, if you look at some of the development that's happened in the past few years, it's been great for some. It certainly has not been great for many. We still have 20% of the people are under poverty. 1/3 of our kids are going without every night. We have 1 out of 3 black men in this city have been involved in jail at some point or another. This is a city where kids are failing in schools, dropping out faster than any other city or state in the entire country. We are below Mississippi, which is the farthest down. This is shocking numbers if you look at how great the city is doing, and when you hear the officials talking about how great the city is doing. And yet on the other side, we see how awful some things are for some people. In fact, the new NAEP testing that just came out, the National Assessment on Educational Progress, which is like the nation's report card, Arnie Duncan talks about it and others talk about it, has shown actually the gap between the poor and the upper class has widened even further when it comes to educational progress. The progress that we put forth, all those reforms that were brought under Fenty and Michelle Rhee and all of those things, and continue now under Kaya Henderson and others under the Gray administration, have borne absolutely no benefit whatsoever to the people they were supposed to benefit. These are shocking numbers. You know, we don't talk about them.
In the first hour, I had 3 gentlemen on from the 100 Black Men of Washington, D.C., and they shared with me, I think I'm fairly well versed in things that are going on in D.C., but they shared a statistic with me that my mouth dropped open, that it is now only 38% of African-American boys are graduating from high school.
Absolutely. 38%. Absolutely. And I talk to them. I think it's a crime, really. If you stop and think about it, this is a crime. This is the crime of our time. You know, I mean, Michelle Alexander talks about the new Jim Crow. This is part of the new Jim Crow. We have kept an underclass of people who are in poverty, and we've monetized them. We've turned them into a commodity. We sell them to prison people so that they can make more money. We privatized, and we turned poor people into a commodity.
What will, on that particular point, what will a Andy Shallal administration do to help reverse that trend?
I think we always talk about giving people fish. We've done a good job of just giving people, just throwing a fish every now and then to people that are hungry. And if you keep them just at that level, just at that bare subsistence level, people will stay under you. But we have to teach people how to fish. I want government to get out of the way of small business, because small business is the engine that creates jobs. I want to give empowerment to the people that live in Ward 8 and Ward 7, so they're not waiting for the government to be able to save them. Yes, the government is going to save them at some point. You know, people are in need. When they're desperate, they need help. But beyond that, we need to help them to get out of that situation, so it's not generations and generations and generations of people that feel a dependence on government. That's not good for anybody. It's not good for the people that you're helping, so-called, and it's not good for anybody else. So there are many, many plans that you could do that. I talk to some of my staff, and they say one of the things that is the most costly for them is to get to and from work. If you live far away from here and you have to catch the metro and catch the bus and be here, it costs a lot of money. If you have to drive, there are tickets, and that costs a lot of money. Let's make public education free to poor people. It's been done in other cities. It's done well. I look out the window, and I see buses going by all the time with empty seats. We can't make money out of poor people. It just doesn't make sense. We have to have a living wage for people so that when they wake up in the morning and they take their kids to daycare and they pay for their transportation and get to work, that when they come home, they can put a roof over their head and they can have a meal to eat.
What in your estimation, what's the living wage for Washington, D.C.?
I mean, it's being talked about at $12.50 an hour. I think that's a fair wage. And I think you have to tie it to the cost of living, so we don't have to sit and argue about this every single year and wait for dozens of years before something happens.
You as a business owner,
Yeah.
you've got multiple businesses in the city. So conventional wisdom is that the business community doesn't want the minimum wage to go up. You do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've testified on it. Our minimum wage here is $10.25 an hour. Most of our staff makes more than that. We're still talking about the tipped wage and trying to increase that. So there's a lot of possibilities of where we can go with the minimum wage. And I think you've got to have an incentive for people to wake up in the morning. Otherwise, why bother? If you're going to spend all day working and still not pay for your needs, I'd rather stay home and get a check from government, frankly.
Andy, we're going to ask you a lot of questions about, your campaign, what your platform will be, what your policy would be. I think it is very important. I posted on Facebook that Andy Shallal would be great to be the next mayor of Washington, D.C., and a very good friend of mine said, Rock, man, I'm surprised that you say that. The fact that you've given an endorsement is going to make me take a look, but I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about his policies. Part of what I wanted to accomplish when I asked you to come on the show today was to really not just talk about all the good, great, and wonderful things that you have done to get to this point, but to find out who you are. And as I've done with multiple guests on this show, we went back. So let's go back. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Baghdad, Iraq. My family decided to move to this country. My father got a position at that time with the government. This is 1966.
How old were you when you left Iraq?
I was 10 years old.
10 years old, okay.
This is pre-Saddam Hussein Iraq.
Okay.
So no one even knew where Iraq was on the map at that time.
Right.
Right? So we came here. We came to Washington, D.C.
Let me ask you, even before
Yeah.
you came here, as a child, what was, right now, if you think back now, what was your earliest memory as a child?
You mean before 10?
Yeah.
We had a, it's really funny that you asked that. I always liked animals. And so we had a chicken coop in our house. And I used to tend the chickens. And we had...
Tend the chickens as in go out in the morning?
Go out in the morning, get the eggs.
Yeah, okay.
Get the eggs. And I remember one summer, there was this infestation of ticks. And the chickens got all these ticks on them. And I had to go and get rid of the ticks. And the way we did it is we took Crisco, like a lard, oil,
right,
and mix it with sugar. You make this paste of sugar and oil.
Yeah.
And then you take the chickens one at a time, and they used to get the ticks all over them, especially under their wings.
Sure.
And you lift the wing up. The chickens didn't like it. And
Yeah.
you rub them with this oil, sugar ointment, basically. And the ticks start falling off. And I didn't know why then that happened, but
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're suffocating the ticks. See, they breathe through their skin.
Right.
So when you rub them with that oil, it plugs the pores of the ticks. And the ticks then fall off.
Yeah.
And that was like a common household remedy on how to take care of ticks for chickens. This is patented, by the way, folks, so please.
I was just thinking about that. Is there a copyright? Is there a patent something? So you had, the question there's always been a question. The owner of Busboys and Poets, is he black? And the first memory you had is of chickens.
Right.
Now, how did y'all cook? If you tell me fried, I'm gonna say he's a brother for sure.
We definitely fry chicken, that's for sure. Yeah, I have to, we have Eatonville as my other restaurant, and one of the main things that I wanted to make sure is we had good fried chicken. So we tried 1 million recipes on how to get good fried chicken. Yeah. And because I have to have my good fried chicken once a week. And they know when I go in there.
When the question came up, again, there has often been the question, because you named this after Langston Hughes, this facility here, and the Eatonville after Zora Neale Hurston. Zora Neale Hurston, is the guy a black guy? And, there are multiple things that happen. Your first memory is, one again of chicken, you fried them, I remember calling you, and I heard a lot of noise in the background. And it was R&B being played. And folks, this is just a story I'll tell, hopefully I'm not talking out of school. But Andy, I'm hearing this conversation in the background. And it was like, no, give him that fried chicken, the collard greens, and the potato salad. And you were at the Players Lounge in Southeast Washington. Right. I didn't know you know anything about that place.
Yeah.
So, is he a brother? We're going to find out more about this brother when we come back on the Rock Newman Show after these brief messages. Hello to all my friends in the DMV. I am Rock Newman from the Rock Newman Show. I want to tell you about the MGM Grand National Harbor, the most exciting project to come to the District, Maryland, or Virginia in quite some time. You're going to have great fun. Come on down, support this project with all you have. It is going to be wonderful for the area. We're going to increase our tax base. We're going to get funding for the police department, for ambulance, for fire, for education. It is really a project that is going to benefit our area. Folks, we want to support in a very strong DMV kind of way this great project from the MGM Grand National Harbor.
My baby drives a pro handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a pro handcuff.
And now, the Rock Newman Show.
That voice. And now the Rock Newman Show. Folks, we're back with Andy Shallal, who is running, thrown his hat in the ring to run for mayor in the Democratic primary that is going to be April the 1st 2014. Andy, we left off with my attempting to have my folks who are out there in the viewing and listening audience to know not just what you've done as a businessman, but know who you are. We left off, you're 10 years old, had a wonderful experience with this salve, with getting ticks off of chickens, and then you moved to the United States. Take us from there.
Sure. So we came here. We lived in D.C. for a very short time, and then we moved to Arlington, Virginia, where my father had a small apartment off of Lorcombe Lane on Old Dominion Drive, and I went to Stratford Junior High School then. And I remember one...
Did I hear in Iraq you went to a Catholic school?
I did, yeah. We went to, Catholic schools are considered the best schools where I come from. And they were considered the best educators. And so my parents were very keen on education and made sure that we went to Catholic schools.
Okay.
So when we came here, we went to Arlington County Public Schools. So one is Stratford Junior High, was across the street from where we lived in our apartment at that time. And I remember the first snowstorm. I had really never seen snow. I didn't know what snow looked like.
First of all, when you left, when your parents left, was that just sort of a natural migration, or was that getting rid of, had Saddam come in then?
No. This is pre-Saddam Hussein.
Okay.
My father was actually a representative for the Arab League, which back then was the Union of Arab States.
Okay.
They had a league, and he was the representative for that league here in Washington.
Okay. All right.
So we're living in Arlington in this apartment, and a huge snowstorm the night before. And there was probably, when we woke up, maybe 1.5 feet of snow on the ground. And there's blizzard and wind and blowing and all this.
Right.
Of course, we had no idea school's closed.
Right.
So we pack our bags, and we have our things on our back, and it was walking distance,
right.
but it was like half a mile.
Ooh.
It wasn't that close. And, my mother said, hey, get out there, it's time to go to school,
That's right.
So we're packed up, we warmed up a little bit, and we out there walking, and we start walking in the snow, trudging through the snow, the wind blowing in our faces, and we're walking towards school. Right. My brother and I, no one else is out. Right. We couldn't figure out why. So we're walking in there, and we finally reached the schools. We just about died along the way, really,
right.
So we finally reached the schools, and everything seems quiet. And there was a chain, like a link chain around the door. And we thought, this is crazy. Why would they put a chain on the door?
Right.
It's supposed to be a school day.
Right.
And so we're wiping off the glass and looking in, trying to see, what's going on. There's nobody in sight.
All right.
We went around the back, knocking on the door, thinking that this is school day. What's going on? It maybe started early or something, And we couldn't figure out. We finally, on the way back, we figured out that there was no school, obviously, and we walked back, and we discovered one of the most exciting things about America is that they close schools when it snows.
Right.
Where I come from, they close schools when there's a revolution.
Yeah.
When people start uprising.
Right.
That's a school day.
Wow. Okay, so you're in elementary school, and I thought one of the things in your bio that somewhere, so the high school, in elementary school, you're in a Catholic school in Baghdad, and then you come over here, you go to school, and you go to Thomas Jefferson
High School, and Washington Lee.
And Washington Lee.
Yeah.
So you got this Iraqi-born guy that goes to Catholic school, comes here, goes to Thomas Jefferson Junior High and Washington Lee High School. And tell me about your experiences when you started getting to become a teenager. I heard you tell the story the other day, and something that I think that has rooted you, it seems to me, that has rooted you in your desire to try to eradicate race as a barrier to success.
Absolutely. I think it's, race is so complicated in this country. Race is always an issue in many countries, obviously, all over the world. But I think in this country in particular, it's obviously very unique because of its history. When we first came here, one of the first shocking things to me was you actually had to fill out a form where you had to put yourself in a box. Are you white, black, or other? And, I didn't know what white meant. I didn't know what black meant, and I certainly didn't want to be other. I don't know what other was. So the fact of the matter is, I turned in those forms blank. I didn't know what to say, and I learned afterwards. Of course, this is serious business, and I remember, and I tell the story where the black girls will be whispering, saying, "I think he's high yellow."
And this is now you're junior high, and you start to look at girls now.
Exactly.
So what
Absolutely.
they say really matters.
High yellow is like, what the hell is that? And I go home, try to figure it out, and
Did you ask your mom?
I did. I tell a funny story. I asked Mom, "What's high yellow?" She said, "Just be quiet and eat your hummus." Yeah. So it was a very surprising interaction that I was having with this issue, and I finally realized the significance of race when Martin Luther King was assassinated. That was my first kind of like eye-opening experience, thinking, this is not just about giggling in the hallway or checking a box.
Yeah.
This is like serious
real
business.
serious stuff. Right.
This is people die for this and have died for this. And really kind of got me on a journey to think much more about the implications of race and how race plays out in this country. And started to look deeper into it. And I was fortunate to have a great teacher, actually, in junior high school that was obsessed with Langston Hughes. And I remember memorizing the Langston Hughes poetry back then. And then all of a sudden, forgot about it. It was good poetry, but it had no serious significance in my life in a sense. But years later, it just, how these memories just bubble up to the top once you get a whole different experience come out. So, and I remember also was one of the first folklife festivals were happening that year on the mall. And we had to go there and write about it, write about the Folklife Festival. And there was a section of the Harlem Renaissance in there, which was just fascinating. Yeah.
You had a teacher
Yes.
that was fascinated with Langston Hughes.
Yeah.
You said you learned some of that poetry.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what you learned?
Yeah, I do. I remember.
You have a favorite poem from that time?
I mean, my favorite really of all time is Let America Be America Again, because I think it speaks so powerfully to what America is.
I put people on the spot.
Oh.
Even if they own this building, I put them on the spot.
Okay.
How about giving us a shot?
Okay.
What's it called? Let America Be America?
It's called Let America Be America Again. It goes, let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America was never America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be the strong land of love, where neither kings connive, nor tyrants scheme. Let no man be crushed by one above. The poem goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, perhaps the first way that I would try to describe you if someone asked me to describe you, I would tell them of leaving Georgetown and trying to have a meeting with you on a Sunday. And I caught up with you. You weren't home. You weren't here. You were down at the YMCA that was just about to open. And you were in there and you were creating a mural. And I walked in and it was like, it was a different Andy Shallal than what I had experienced before. The owner, the political activist, the visionary. This was a person who was absolutely immersed in what he was doing. And at that point, I was like, you know what, this dude is an artist. What drew you to that?
You know, as a kid, it was interesting what drew me to arts. I mean, art has always been a part of my life. I remember when I was a kid, I had rheumatic fever, and rheumatic fever it attacks your joints, and your joints become very, very calcified, and you have a hard time moving. I've recovered completely, of course, but a friend of ours brought me this little kit a book and some coloring crayons, and I started drawing on them. And I remember my mother looking at it and said, "Did you do this?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "This is good. This is really good." You know, it was a picture of a duck and mountains or something like that. I can't remember what, but it's you know how sometimes just one moment of encouragement can push somebody to a different space. Yeah. And I became the artist, you know, and everybody then started buying me things that are art related. So I started to really kind of explore my art. And when we came here to this country, I had a great teacher. My English was non-existent, but I had a great teacher, Mrs. Golden, who actually was the art teacher. And the art teacher also took a real liking to me because I was one of her best students. And so she enjoyed the work that I was doing and encouraged it quite a bit.
I want to come back to the art, but I want to actually jump around. A seasoned Washington, D.C. political veteran posed the question to me. He said, Andy Shallal, he has a great establishment, Busboys and Poets, and man, I don't know anybody that doesn't love that place. It's a great place and it's easy to love. But we don't know Andy Shallal, and he doesn't really have name recognition. So with the lack of name recognition, how do you sort of move from the back of the pack to the front runner position?
Well, we have a great team that we put together, actually. We are in the process now of building the team in a very serious way. We have lots of great creative ways to get the message out, and you'll be seeing those very soon. We have the ability to tap into areas that other traditional candidates can't or haven't.
Like what?
Well, we're going to bring artists in. We're going to bring musicians in. We're going to bring poets in. We're going to bring people that actually touch people's hearts and minds, not just minds. We're going to involve people from different levels. We've had such an incredible amount of volunteers that have just come into this race. You can't believe it. Yeah. I am amazed and of course heartened by it. We're having a hard time even structuring how we're going to use all these volunteers to be the movement that we're talking about.
When you announced your candidacy, you brought in a contingent of African drummers.
Yes. The head of that, Kristen, I mean, she was an employee here that worked as a server for many years. Yeah. And then she went off, she moved to Ghana, she got into drumming, she got married there.
So this is a very big moment for you. Why was that a part of your announcement?
You know, every element of humanity has art and culture part of it to me. And too often I think we try to separate ourselves from that. And I think it's to the detriment of our society, really, in so many ways. I believe that we too much rely on the head and not enough on the heart. And the heart really is where change takes place. It doesn't change place in the head. It starts at the heart. And I think if we can't reach people through their soul, through their heart, and music and art and poetry are the ways people get touched. If we can't reach them there, we'll never get to their head. We'll never get to their head.
You grabbed one of the drums and started playing. Now, that was very impromptu, and I couldn't hear if you were on beat or not.
I was definitely on beat. Are you kidding?
You got rhythm?
I got rhythm. I got lots. In fact, I go to the drumming circle over at Meridian Park sometimes, and just join the circle there. I have my own djembe drum. I also have an Arab drum, a dumbuk, and I'm not great. I mean, there's not going to be a concert anytime soon with me as a solo, that's for sure. But anybody can beat a drum.
Well, so what you would say is if there was a competition between the other mayoral candidates,
I would.
You like your chances?
Oh,
Jack Evans.
That's easy. That's easy.
How well you think Jack might play the drum?
He likes the SOBs, symphony, opera, and ballet.
Okay, now so that kind of positioning one could see a very easy stretch. And, very quickly, people come and look at this place here, and you got Martin Luther King up, and you got, your very progressive movement. So, the African-American population in this community, one would think that, you really might be able to galvanize that group. What about the white community? What about the Jewish community? There was an article just recently. I want you to think about this when we go to break. There was an article recently that really sort of castigated you or criticized you for something you said back that they thought was anti-American and against the interest of Israel. And those things are always an elephant in the room.
I don't think they said anti-American. I think they said anti-Israel, maybe.
And when we come back,
but that's not true.
We want to talk about that. Okay.
All right.
Folks, we'll be back in just a moment. Finish up this hour of the Rock Newman Show with Andy Shallal, who aspires to be the next mayor of Washington, D.C., right after these messages.
My baby drives a handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a handcuff.
This is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've gotten based on the sale price of the car you choose. I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to timpohankaforthepeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
And now, the Rock Newman Show.
Folks, as we wrap up here today, Saturday, November the 23rd, to wrap up this last hour, before we get out, I want to thank my previous guests. This is absolutely a fascinating show today. Prentice Parrish, James Proctor, and Kevin Walter Smith from the 100 Black Men of Washington, D.C. Karamu Kush, the writer, director, and actor. Sophia Stewart, who's referred to as the mother of the Matrix. She makes some extraordinary claims that The matrix was done as a result of a manuscript that she submitted. We've asked her to come in studio to bring her evidence. She said she would do so. The gentleman who this show was dedicated today, Brandon Carrington Lee. Brandon's parents were here, Jeff and Tina Lee. They are heading up the Brandon Carrington Lee Foundation that is committing to fight pediatric cancer through research. And we wrap up the hour with the gentleman who aspires to be the next mayor of Washington, D.C. He's the owner of Busboys and Poets in Eatonville, Andy Shallal. Andy, before we went to break, we were talking about an article that was written recently that was somewhat critical of you and some what were described as anti-Jewish, not necessarily even Jewish, anti-Israeli comments.
Yep.
Your comment?
I think, we have to make a separation between Israeli policy and Jewish people. Mm-hmm. It's very different. Mm-hmm. Israeli policy does not always represent the interests of the people. As we know, sometimes American policy does not represent the interests of Americans.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really important for us to separate those two. Mm-hmm. When Israeli policy stands in the way of peace, to me, that's not a useful policy for anybody. I want to see Israelis and Palestinians live side by side in a peaceful world. Mm-hmm. Most people want that. Mm. And there are some people that aspire to have this conflict continue and have a lot of bloodshed and lots of devastation. I'm not one of those people. I want to see a resolution of this conflict. And I think sometimes the policies of the Israeli government, the very right-wing Likud government of Israel, has created more devastation for both Israelis and Palestinians than anything else. So that policy needs to stop because it's not useful.
Now, I will be very candid. I'm aware that you formed some sort of organization or belong to an organization or something that strives for unity amongst Jewish people and Palestinians. I'm vaguely aware. I probably should be more aware, but I'm just vaguely aware. Can you explain?
I have lots and lots of friends in the Jewish community, in the Arab community. They know the work that I've been doing. I've been doing it for decades.
And what is it?
This is peace work. The Peace Cafe, actually, which is the longest running dialogue group between Arabs and Jews in the United States, the Peace Cafe, and the largest, has been going on since 2000. It was started by myself, a woman named Mimi Conway, a woman that is a writer and a teacher here at George Washington University, and the artistic director of Theater J, which is the Jewish theater at the DCJCC. The three of us put this together to open up a dialogue between Arabs, Jews, and those interested in a long-lasting peace in the Middle East to come together and talk about issues of common interest. And this has been going on since then. We've had at least, well, it wouldn't be an exaggeration, say hundreds of gatherings of people that are interested in finding a peaceful resolution. And lots of stuff has happened during that time. I joined the council of Theater J at the DCJCC. I'm one of their members there. I've been involved in their program that's called Voices of a Changing Middle East, that they bring all kinds of plays to be able to talk about issues in the Middle East. So I've had very deep roots in the Jewish and Arab community here in the United States.
Okay. It has been said that it might be one of the toughest constituent groups for you to get support from would be the church-going ladies, the Christian church-going ladies that fill the churches on Sunday mornings in Washington, D.C. How are you going to reach them?
Are you kidding? I've been going to churches. In fact, I went to a church on Minnesota Avenue. Dr. Fisher and his wife run the church. They invited me there to their little congregation. I had an amazing time. And by the time I left, I had 6 volunteers lining up. This is of a group of about 25 people. So I can reach those people. I can reach people in many, many different parts of this city. I have been able to, because you know what? For people that live in Ward 7, Ward 8, they don't get the experience of having the candidates go out there and actually talk to them. And when they do, when they hear them, and they hear the message resonates, and they understand it, and I speak the same language they speak. I don't speak councilese. I speak plain.
What's councilese?
It's this talk that tends to go in circles and comes out like everyone should live together and let's all, have better schools and let's have better transportation and better education. Well, of course. I mean, who's going to say no to that? Right. So it's safe language that doesn't offend anyone, doesn't get in the way of anyone. I'll tell it like it is. I speak like it is. We had a debate the other day, the DC Bar Association debate,
right.
And there was a question that came up. They said if an initiative comes out from the citizenry, that means if citizens get together and put an initiative together, and it passes like it has, for example, for the DC Attorney General,
right.
that was just overturned,
right.
or the initiative that I worked on, which was to limit campaign contributions to $100 back in 1991, which was also overturned by the City Council. They asked the question to all the people sitting there, would you uphold the people's voice? And I was shocked at the nerve that actually council members would sit there and question the people's voice. And so two of them, Jack Evans and Mayoral Bowser, both said, we'd have to look at it and think about it and all of that. I said, think about what? You're representing the people.
Right.
I came to this country and I learned civics. This is government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
It's supposed to be.
It's not for the developers, by the rich, for the rich. It's not supposed to be that. And I mean, I have to tell you, I am shocked at the lack of anger out there. Really.
At the lack of anger.
Really.
When you said that, I was thinking about something. That if an initiative goes, if a ballot comes up, there's an initiative, and the people vote for it.
Yes.
And we live, we can debate about whether or not we truly live in a democracy, especially here in D.C., where we don't, we pay taxation without representation. But I kind of want to stay with you on that for a second, that you actually have sitting council members who are saying that if the people vote on an initiative, they would consider turning it back.
Well, they're not just saying it, they've done it. I helped pass Initiative 41, which was to limit campaign contributions. It passed by 72% of the voters. 72%. The next day, it was overturned. Overturned.
What was the process that overturned it?
A resolution comes up. There's an initiative, and let's vote on it. And it's how many yeas, how many nays, and it's over. And it's done, at the end of the day on a Friday, and by the time Monday comes around, no one pays attention, it's over.
So, in other words, you went through a process where did you campaign? You campaigned?
Yes.
You worked for an initiative
you have to
limit
collect,
campaign?
You have to collect 22,000 votes. 22,000 signatures. Now, listen to this. You have to collect 22,000 signatures to put an initiative on the ballot. That's a lot of work.
Right.
That's a lot of work.
Right. And so you and whoever else was involved did this, and folks, don't think that I'm just sitting here asking Andy a leading question, because these are something that I simply don't know. So you're saying that you're involved in a campaign to limit campaign funding.
Right. Now, I'm not saying do it now, because we have to level the playing field. I just want to be clear.
No, I understand,
here.
but I'm saying, but the initial, because I want to understand sort of this process of government. So, and the people voted for it overwhelmingly in excess of 70%.
Yes.
And it went, and then you're saying immediately after that, the council reversed what was the will and the vote of the people.
Yes.
And most recently, in this past week or so, some council members are saying they still might do that same thing.
Oh, and they did it. They just recently did it for we voted to have the DC Attorney General be a elected position. But they overturned that.
What do you see as the 2 or 3 most pressing problems, challenges that the city faces that you have solutions to?
Number one, how to create this amazing economic prosperity that's going through the city, to have it be for all, not just for some. And the education system. which we cannot go around just talking about how rosy the education system is in this city. It's not. It's not improving. It's actually going down. I want to put an end to closing schools, because closing schools in neighborhoods devastates neighborhoods. Schools are the connective tissue for a neighborhood. I know that. I was down by Easter Market the other day, and the high school right across from there was closed. All the kids were hanging out, just hanging out on the side of the street, hanging out by the bicycles. I mean, these kids are going to, how long is it going to take before somebody comes to them and takes advantage of these young minds? Yeah. Why can't they be in the school doing some activities there, after school programs, all kinds of things? And schools aren't just for students, they're for neighborhoods. Right. There's adult education, there's community meetings, all kinds of stuff happens in schools. So number one, close schools. Put a moratorium on charter schools. Enough. Put a more, when the chancellor gets out there and testifies before the city council and says that we don't know how to do middle school, we have to funnel our kids to charter schools. Seriously? Really? That's the person that I put in charge of education in this system? That's like saying, you know, I'd love to manage a restaurant, but I don't know how to manage, you know, between the hours of 6 and 10 p.m., which is my sweet spot. And so, you know, I can only manage early morning shifts. I tell them, go home. I don't need people like that. Right.
What, you mentioned business is going great. Business is doing a lot of things. It's booming here. How would an Andy Shallal administration foster behavior and action where things are going great on one side of the city? How do you sort of bridge that gap and start to bring into the process of the greatness of the city and all the good things that are happening for those that have been left out?
The way we do it now isn't working. So what we do is we do this economic development thing. So we drop these projects in neighborhoods thinking that by dropping these projects somewhere, that there's some ripple effect that happens, that everybody benefits from it. Well, let me give you an example of a project we dropped exactly in east of the river, the Homeland Security Project. 14,000 jobs, okay? 14,000 jobs, folks. Of the 14,000 jobs, 314 are actually do not require a college education. Which means the statistic that we had earlier, 62% of the kids don't graduate from high school. What are the chances somebody that lives within walking distance of that area is able to get a job there? Zero. Zero to none. So all those jobs, people driving in, the gates open, they drive in, they have their own cafeteria, they eat there. I talked to Steve Thompson, the owner of the Players Lounge. I said, has business improved since Homeland Security came in? And he said, hell no. It has not improved one bit. He said, these people don't go out, I have no idea who's in there. And you can see where Homeland Security is right from his window. So the fact of the matter is that economic development that's being put there is not helping the people. We have to match the economic development projects that we're putting in places to the people that live there. We have to improve public housing. Public housing is in shambles. You know, you drive by, you're not supposed to notice public housing from other places. The whole idea of public housing is to make it blend with the rest of the neighborhood. Right. Not have it be so that a light bulb in a hallway takes 6 months to replace and trash doesn't get picked up on the sidewalk. That doesn't make sense. How is someone supposed to have pride in what they feel about themselves when they can't even see their door when they get to their door? It should be safe places. They should look beautiful. They should have landscaping. They should have all these things. That's what uplifts people. We spend way too much money when people are falling off the cliff. Housing. It costs us to house somebody at DC General $40,000 for a family. $40,000. And we do this year after year after year. Why don't we have more permanent supportive housing? There are projects that do that. Permanent supportive housing will take these people out of that constant struggle. Every year you have to find shelter.
I notice you're saying permanent supportive housing, you're not saying affordable housing.
Look, affordable housing has been messed up and mashed up and you know, if you're making $50,000 a year, you cannot find a place to live around here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what the definition of affordable housing is, but it needs to change.
Put it in words.
Right now, we use affordable housing based on the average median income of the entire region, which takes into Montgomery County, gets into Fairfax County, which is one of the highest per capita incomes. It doesn't make sense.
Let me ask you this question. Sort of, I'm going to look at it as a microcosm of something that I see. That, you know, your employees, your waiters, and everybody, when you walk into a Busboys and Poets, part of what makes this place work and makes it a place where everyone feels comfortable is how people are greeted and treated. Mm-hmm. Is there a particular kind of training that you give the people in your employees that you would try to initiate with government workers? Because people walk in places needing government services all the time and too often get treated like crap.
Yeah, they do. They do. I mean, have you ever been to an unemployment office? I actually walked into an unemployment office in Southeast. Mm-hmm. I felt dirty by the time I walked out. It's embarrassing. It's a shambles.
What was the problem?
The drabness, the anger behind the counter. It's like, really? These people are devastated already. They're not standing in line because they want to. They're in a situation that they have to get out of. Why are you making their life more miserable? Mm-hmm. Sit down. Next. You know, it's like, come on. That's not how you treat people. So the way that I do my training here is that at first we thought, let's train them on the mechanics, on how to serve coffee, how to serve water, how to serve tea, how to. And I finally realized that, you know what, it's not about the mechanics. People don't go out to restaurants so somebody puts the water on the right side instead of the left side. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for pleasant people. So you have to do that by uplifting everyone. So we do, actually, our training is around race. Because we know restaurants in this city have a racial implication. Everything in this city has some racial implication at some level or another.
Hello. Yes.
So we have to address that head on. So we talk about how do we uplift one another. So we have a statement, a tribal statement that we call, we are a place where racial and cultural connections are consciously uplifted. A place where art, culture, and politics come together and intentionally collide. We are a place to take a deliberate pause, feed your mind, body, and soul. And by creating such a place, we believe we can change our neighborhood, our community, and the world. Now imagine a city where that is the vision of the city. If we had a vision in this city where people come first, we would never have the debacle where you have somebody that didn't pay $200 get their house taken away from them. Right. Like, seriously?
Yeah, that's a
like, nobody noticed?
That has been a tragedy.
I mean, it's not just a tragedy. I think somebody should be held accountable. Mm-hmm. Jack Evans, this is his oversight committee. Mm-hmm. At the D.C. Bar Association debate, he tried to take credit for the fact that he was doing the work to do this. And Mike DeBonis, much to his credit, said, oh, no. It was the Washington Post that was the first one to talk about it.
Right.
Okay? Now, why does it take a hearing to go over this? No, you put a stop on it day one.
Right.
You don't put a hearing so that 5 other or 10 other homes get taken away from elderly people that have no say. I was late in taxes one time. I fixed it right away. It took 4 years to remove that from my record. 4 years. I'm not kidding you. So for an elderly person who doesn't have the wherewithal, who can't get to where they have to go, who cannot stand in line for hours, that's like devastating them. It's like crushing them. That's got to stop. Really, I'm just mad, I have to tell you. I just don't know why more people aren't mad.
Tell me, in the last minute that we have here, I look at you as a quintessential artist. How are you going to use art to help make D.C. a better place? And we've got 60 seconds. Let me see how good you are in putting that answer together in 60 seconds.
We're going to put murals. We're going to put murals that uplift people all over the city. Philadelphia has done a great job with that. They have the most murals than any other city in this country. It started out as a public project. Now it's a private project where all these muralists want to come and do murals in Philadelphia. You drive in any town and any little neighborhood in Philadelphia, and there are gorgeous murals. What murals do is they bring people together. They start reliving their culture and their history and what's important for them to show there. It brings a community together. That's one example. There's a million. I want to bring art. I want to get 1% of the budget to go into the art. 1%. And not just put it in a silo where you have to go and ask for it, but spread it out at all departments. So that if you're doing a road project on the sidewalk and you're digging up the sidewalk for a year, it doesn't have to look ugly for an entire year. It could actually have art around it. We can have street tattoos, we can have color, we can have poetry, we can all kinds of stuff, even while we're under a construction project. So it keeps the area alive and doesn't depress it for an entire year before it finally gets fixed. So those are just some minor ideas, but there are a gazillion ideas that I can sit and give you. I hope people really reconsider the fact that I don't have experience. I'm the only one in this race that has had jobs, that actually created jobs. I'm the only one that has led and succeeded. I'm the only one in so many issues. And the idea that you can't transfer that into a government situation is bogus. I've been involved in government for many, many years. I know the workings of government. I've talked to government people, and I can do the job.
Andy Shallal, aspirations to be the next mayor of Washington, D.C. Folks, thanks for tuning in today. We're out of time. We'll see you. We will not be here on the 30th, but on the 5th, on the 7th of December, we'll have a very special show for you. And in between that time, we might have a special broadcast. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us today. God bless.